Hi guys, welcome back to my channel FoodishBeauty. If you're new, my name is TJ and I upload weekly beauty and lifestyle videos. So if these are the videos you love to watch, then please don't forget to click that subscribe button and you would absolutely make my day. Now today I have a quick and hopefully thorough review of the Kylie Cosmetics The Burgundy palette. Now just a quick overview of this review. I'm going to be showing you close-up swatches of each and every one of these eyeshadows swatched on my bare arm with my fingers, as well as showing you cutaway shots of some of these eyeshadows being used with a brush on my primed eyelids. And then near the end of the video I will be including some palette dupes for this entire palette as well. Now onto the palette in question, starting with the packaging, which I absolutely adore. It's made entirely of cardboard. On the back of the palette there is a silver sticker that enlists all of the shadow names as well as every single ingredient for each and every shadow. I can't actually find a little bunny sign on the entire packaging, but having gone on to Kylie Cosmetics website, they do state that none of their makeup items are tested on animals, but because a lot of the eyeshadows within this palette do seem to contain carmine, I wouldn't say this is a vegan palette at all. Opening on to the eyeshadows, this palette doesn't include a mirror inside. It also doesn't fold all the way onto itself, so that is a slight downside for me. I'd rather it had a mirror if it didn't fold all the way back, or vice versa. Now onto the all-important swatches. The first shade we have is Naked. This is a gold sand with satin finish. I use this shade to highlight the inner tear duct area, which is not quite so bright enough for, so I had to mix it with another shade, which you will see later. In the middle we have Beach, which is a matte light warm brown. This is the first shade I lay down using a fluffy brush in the crease sort of socket area, taking it all the way almost to the brow bone. Next along we have Penny, which is a matte red orange. This is one of my favourite shades in the palette. It's such a unique and really hard to dupe shade, surprisingly. In the second row we start with the shade LA. This is a true metallic copper, and this is the shade I mixed with Naked to brighten my inner tear duct area. Next up we have Burgundy, which is a bright red burgundy with a matte finish, and this is a really unique shade and it's probably one of the brightest shades that really drew me to this palette. I'm also happy to report this is a true reddish pink burgundy. It's very true to pan as it swatches. This next shadow is also another shade that really drew me to this palette, and it's called Dubai. It's another burgundy shade, but this time with a metallic finish. I have to say I am just ever so slightly disappointed by Dubai because it's just not as pigmented and not as metallic as I want it to be, as you will see later on when I show you the dupes. On to the last row. The first shade we have is Brick, which is a dirty brick shade with a matte finish. This is also the second shade I lay down in the socket area of my eyes with a fluffy brush again to deepen that area. Moving to the middle we have the shade New York. This is a metallic warm brown and it's one of my favourite shades within the palette. It's a very neutral and safe shade, but it also has that metallic sheen to it. It is what I'm wearing in the centre of my lids and I absolutely love this shade. Last one in the palette is called Almond. This is a deep red brown with a matte finish. I use this shade to deepen the outer corner of my eyes using a MAC pencil brush. It's a great matte shade to bring in a level of depth to any look you try to create. So those were all the individual shades. I hope you don't mind at this point I can't actually have the palette open right next to me anymore because I seem to have, my allergy to carmine seem to have really worsened over the course of this recording and I'm just welling up and sneezing like mad. Now just as a disclaimer, for those of you who don't know, I do suffer severely from carmine allergy. Carmine is an insect ingredient that is widely used within the cosmetics as well as food industry. So a lot of our makeup and food dye actually contains this ingredient. Now if you're not allergic to any red, purples, reddish browns or warm toned eyeshadows, chances are you won't be allergic to carmine and you won't have a problem with this palette. So personally for me, I don't think I'll be reaching out for this palette as often as I want to, simply because of that health issue there. Colour selection wise, I love all of the shades. I think they are so on trend. All of the warm tones work super well with each other. All of the shades are very true to pan. They didn't swatch any different compared to how they looked in the pan. Now onto some dupes for this palette. I'm not going to take out individual shades and try to dupe that for you guys, but I'm going to compare it to some palettes within my collection I do think have similar shades too. Now, two palettes immediately came to my mind when I saw the Burgundy palette, and they were the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette as well as the Violet Voss Holy Grail palette. Because I don't have those palettes in my collection, so I can't really compare those for you guys, but if you have them, then please do feel free to compare the swatches to the swatches I just showed you. Now let me just quickly run you through some of the palettes I do found similar to the Burgundy palette within my collection. The first one I have is Cocoa Blend from Zoeva. This palette does make for a good dupe for the Burgundy palette, but because it does have a good selection of metallics and mattes within here, and I think there were about 5 to 6 matches out of the 9, which is a significant amount. The next dupe is from Morphe brushes, and this is the 35F Fall Into Frosts palette. This palette has a beautiful array of metallic burgundy shades within here, as well as some essential matte transitioning shades. This palette does make for a fantastic dupe for the Kylie Burgundy palette because it does have all those metallic burgundy shades. Also, none of the Morphe eyeshadow palettes contain carmine as an ingredient, which is so wonderful, so it's completely safe for those of us who are allergic to carmine to use. This next palette I'm slightly hesitant to include because it was a limited edition, but if you already have this palette within your collection, then it would make a good dupe for the Kylie Burgundy palette. And I'm talking about the Violet Voss Laura Lee palette. Upon swatching, this palette actually matched a lot of the shades within the Burgundy palette, and the shade Rama Jama within this palette is a perfect example of a very pigmented, very metallic burgundy shade. Violet Voss is another brand that doesn't use carmine for their red dye ingredient, which is music to my ears indeed. Their shadows are super pigmented and very easy to use, so I highly recommend. Last but not least, I have the Masquerade palette by Juvia from Juvia's Place. Again, quite a few of the metallic and matte shades from this palette matched closely to the Burgundy palette from Kylie Cosmetics. The pro about any Juvia's Place palette is the absolute humongous size of those eyeshadow pans. It will take you years to get through one of these palettes. So to conclude, I absolutely adore the Kylie Burgundy palette, despite the fact that I am so deadly allergic to it, which is so saddening for me. If you're someone who is not allergic to the specific ingredient carmine, then I would highly recommend this palette. Overall, I think it's a great little palette. It's travel friendly, it has great shade selection, it has kept true to the Kylie Cosmetics brand ethos, which is trend setting. So for the price of $42, I do believe it's a good purchase. So that marks the end of my review for the Kylie Burgundy palette. So hopefully you really found this video helpful with the swatches and the performance on the eyelids as well as the dupes that I included. If you have them, please don't forget to give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to find me on all of the social media platforms under the name FoodishBeauty so we can chat a little further about beauty, travel, fashion and food. So take care my friends, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!